Pickle. Hello and welcome to another episode of Ferret 64 with me, your host, YemmytheFerret. Ferret 64 is, of course, the one-stop shop for video game news, occurrences, first impressions, and so much more. We got another loaded episode. We had an Indie Direct and a partner presentation from Nintendo. Star Wars Outlaws came out. There's a couple of news things, but a lot are coming soon. So we're going to jump right in with the first part of the show, which is going to be, what have I picked up this past week? I know usually I do the direct stuff first, or the showcase stuff first. This is going to take like 5 seconds, so it's not even going to be that bad. Anyway, Star Wars Outlaws came out this week. I bought it physically. I'm a big Star Wars fan, so, you know, I had to get it in there. Oh, yeah. This code, I already used it, so don't even try. I like the cover art for this. I'm not too far into it, but I will talk about it in the future segment. Also, on stream, we played We Love Katamari Reroll and Royal Reviere. It's a very good game. I will also be talking about this in the future segment. I did kind of wish that there was something fun inside there, but oh well. As for games that I picked up, actually picked up, I picked up Transformers the game. This is one that Greedy Waffles and I played on the PS2 back in the day. I know it's based off of the movie. This one has like the bonus disc inside of it for, I don't know, bonus material. I have no clue. But that'll probably be streamed sometime in the future. And then finally, I picked up a physical copy of Crazy Taxi on the PS2. I noticed that I did not have the game yet, and it was only like $10 on eBay, so I said, why not? It's in perfect condition, and some people would say, oh, that box art is disgusting. I mean, I don't mind this at all. It's simple. It gets the point across. It's a Crazy Taxi. I think most people who play this game already know what Crazy Taxi is anyway, so it doesn't even matter, but yeah, that's my pickups this week. Let's go ahead and move on to what was announced at that game showcase. Alright, so as I said, we had an Indie World showcase and a Nintendo Direct partner showcase this past week. It was, I thought the Indie showcase was, in general, better than the partner presentation. But we're going to go through the Indie showcase first, because obviously that was first in the showings. It was actually a very interesting way to do it, having these two kind of linked together. I actually don't mind that at all, and maybe they'll do it more in the future. We'll see. First off, Balatro is joining up with 4 other games. We already knew about Dave the Diver and Vampire Survivors, I'm pretty sure, but they added in 2 more, The Witcher and Among Us. So now 4 free the update is available for free for the 4 new collaborations with these other properties. So there'll be even more poker hands that you can play, game-changing jokers based on the 4 different properties, and new combos available to use as well. The update will also feature cards from will feature artwork for the cards depending on what deck you choose. So, yeah, pretty cool. I haven't played Balatro in a minute, so I definitely want to get back and play through this new DLC thing. I think that the new stuff is pretty cool. I always enjoy seeing free updates as well, especially free updates in terms of oh, we got a free partnership, a deal, practically a DLC for all 4 of these games. The Witcher being free is honestly very surprising, but if you haven't checked out Balatro, it's a pretty fun card game. You don't need to know anything about poker in order to play it. It pretty much teaches you the basics that you need to know for the game, and then it says, okay, do your thing. It's a roguelike deck builder, so if that sounds fun to you, maybe check it out. It's very good. I enjoyed it myself. After that, they had another trailer for Neva, which is a new game coming from the same people who made Grease, or Gris, depending on how you want to pronounce it. It wasn't really like a gameplay trailer. It just kind of was like more of a cinematic or just showing off the beauty of the world kind of trailer. But the game will be coming October 15th, and I'm sure it'll be good. I don't know if I don't know if I really want to play this right away. Grease was kind of like a mixed bag for me personally. I never played. I guess they didn't make it. I thought they made that Sayonara Hearts game. They didn't. My apologies. But I never. I was like, it was a mixed bag for Grease, and I don't know. The game isn't like really super selling me right now, but it does look good. That's for sure. I'm just afraid that it'll fall into the same quandary as Grease, where it's a lot of like holding right on the analog stick and some simple puzzle platforming through a narrative adventure, which can be good in its own right. Don't get me wrong, but I don't know. It's one of those things that it's probably not going to be a day one pickup for me at least. But if you're excited, it will be available in October. A game called Moth Cubit is coming in spring of 2025. This game very much reminds me of like Undertale, maybe mixed with like Binding of Isaac, I guess, in terms of like art style and commentary and jokes, I guess you could say. But Moth Cubit, you crawl your way up the corporate ladder as an insect in a mega corporation in this surreal RPG where you take on the role of Moth Cubit, an ordinary employee who recently earned a promotion. Tread carefully through mysteries abound and the threat of a sinister event known as the Final Process. As you investigate, you'll meet bugs from all walks of life, some of whom you'll befriend, and others you'll want to take down in verbal showdowns with multiple dialogue choices. Your choices will influence how the story progresses, so keep your eyes open. This bizarre world holds many secrets to unravel and multiple endings to experience. So it looks pretty good. I'm not going to say it's like a one-on-one clone of Undertale, but it does remind me of that at points during this trailer. There's like a dancing minigame mixed in there. There's a couple, puzzles to solve that kind of were reminiscent, I guess, of how Undertale looked. And then like graphically, it kind of reminded me, like especially when they're like in the office, it kind of reminded me of like a Binding of Isaac vibe every now and then. So I'm sure. I think it looks pretty good. So if you want to check that out, that'll be coming in 2025 of spring 2025. Coffee Talk. The creators of the game were talking about what the future of the series is going to be like, and they announced that they are currently working on Coffee Talk Tokyo, which is a new twist on the Coffee Talk series. You're still talking to mythical creatures, but of course they're more like Japanese-inspired, Japanese mythology, or was it Taoism, I think is the religion. But it's pretty much the same gameplay. You make coffee for people and you talk to them. And just like the name suggests, Coffee Talk. They didn't have a release date for that, but they said that it should be coming in 2025. Sea of Stars is getting a DLC called Theros of the Watchmaker. This DLC is going to be free, so you don't need to worry about that. Discover a miniature clockwork world in this free DLC for the critically acclaimed and multi-award winning RPG Sea of Stars. Here for a journey full of oddities and wonders in which Valerie and Zale will have to play by new rules to stop a cursed carnival. Zale will transform into a skillful juggler, while Valerie will dazzle as an acrobat. I'm sorry, Valier? Sorry, I didn't play too much of the game. Together with the new playable character Artie, they'll explore new areas, traverse new dungeons, and encounter new enemies, bosses, and puzzles in their quest to save the world of Herlog. The DLC will also support local co-op mode, allowing players to team up with two others for a group adventuring session. The DLC itself looks pretty fun. I remember back when I did like a Dungeons and Dragons group, I made a Demented Carnival type scenario for them to play through. It was one of my only times DMing in that, and it kind of reminds me of that a little bit with like the monsters, carnival-esque monsters. Did they steal from me? No, I don't think so. Obviously not. It looks good. If you like Sea of Stars, it's more Sea of Stars, which obviously, if you like Sea of Stars, it's going to be good for you. So there you go. That'll be coming. No release date given. Spring 2025. Spring 2025. All right, move aside. Move aside, Sea of Stars. The real men's game is here. Power Wash Simulator announced that the Shrek Special Pack will be available in fall of 2024. This DLC is going to cover the key locations of Shrek's Swamp, or just Shrek Swamp. I believe it is just Shrek Swamp. But you essentially clean up after like some fairies sprinkle pixie dust everywhere. So this is a paid DLC. So we'll be covering 5 maps in the Shrek universe, including Shrek's Swamp, the Dragon's Lair. The new DLC will also give you a shiny suit of armor, which is kind of themed after the characters from the movie, the original Shrek movie. There's a mini campaign. You can do it solo or with a friend in co-op, of course, which is pretty. I mean, the Shrek Swamp looks pretty good, pretty detailed. Obviously, they combed over every inch of the movies to see what exactly was in there. I am interested to see the other ones as well, like the other locations. I'm sure there'll be maybe a more detailed trailer in the future. Other places that I could see them doing, since both of these are from Shrek 1, Shrek's Swamp and Dragon's Lair, I could see them covering other locations from the Shrek 1 movie, like Lord Farquaad's dungeon, or Fiona's castle, something like that. But very cool. They didn't say how much it was going to be yet, I don't think, but it's probably going to be like $10, $15 as they usually are. But yeah, that's coming soon in fall. So we're practically into fall now. It's September, so we're almost there. Morsels is a roguelite game coming in February of 2025. The art style is really great in this one. It almost reminded me a bit of Animal Well at times with like the CRT filter and stuff like that. But the character designs are really cool. The enemy designs are really nice, and the environments look really, really gorgeous. It seems like they also switch between some different gameplay or graphic styles. Like at one point, it seemed to be like a claymation world, and then there was like a computer world, and there was like a fairy tale world. So pretty interesting indeed. Like I said, that's coming in February of 2025. I know that there is a shit ton of roguelites coming out nowadays. So if you don't like roguelites, obviously you're not going to be sold on this one just by me saying it's a roguelite that looks good. So maybe by the time it comes out, we'll see what the twist that they have for the game or something like that. I do from the trailer, you can see like the little rat guy is like absorbing, I don't know, morsels. He's absorbing things. So maybe after you defeat a boss, you get an ability from them, or add something to your abilities that you can use as well. I'm not sure, but as of right now, it looks good, and it's coming next year. Date Everything is coming on the 24th of October. This is a game kind of like Boyfriend Dungeon from a couple years ago that piqued my interest and actually really enjoyed, despite being a boy myself. I actually had a lot of fun with it, with its roguelite elements and stuff like that. This is definitely not Boyfriend Dungeon, because it doesn't seem like there's actually a dungeon at all. It's mostly just a narrative adventure where you can you can like first person mode go around the house and interact with objects and then flirt with them, and it seems like everything under the sun is available to be romanced, even like your subconscious or something like that. So but yeah, I mean, essentially anything you can think of is available. Bobby pins, clocks, window, a keyboard, a cabinet. There was a Hoover vacuum, and there's multiple people to either befriend or romance. So it doesn't matter if I guess it really doesn't matter what gender you are. There's something in here for everyone per se. Obviously this is a little bit more geared towards like the female audience, but I mean, just like Boyfriend Dungeon, anyone can play it. It's a video game. It doesn't really matter what your pronouns are. So, date everything. That'll be available the 24th of October if you want to check that out. Peglin, which was in ALPH or early access for quite some time, has finally been released in 1.0 version, and it's actually available right now for the Switch. It was a shadow drop, technically. This is a game where it's kind of like Peggle, where you hit the various little dots on the screen, and you try and get a high combo, and the higher combo you get, the more damage you do to the enemy that's in front of you. This is also a roguelike pachinko-styled machine, so it is a bit different in the subgenre of roguelite. Still has RPG elements, of course, as you'll be able to build your character, strengthen your character as you go through. But this is a pretty cool game. I wanted to check it out before recording this episode, but I've just been spending too much money on games recently, so I needed to cut back a little bit. So I have it on my wish list, and when it comes on sale, I'll probably pick it up. But as of right now, it looks cool. I think that it's a great idea for like a roguelite, something that's a little bit different, in terms of in terms of roguelite the roguelite genre. Even though it still has like the staples of a regular roguelite, it mixes it up with that Peggle system. So I think it looks cool, and if you want to check it out, it's available right now. A game called Wobbly Life is coming December 2024. It reminds me very much of Human Fall Flat at times, or even like Gang Beasts, except that instead of fighting everything in the world, you're doing a lot of platforming and stuff like that. This is, of course, a physics sandbox type game where everything is interactive. As grandma, you got kicked out of your home, and I'm sorry, your grandma has kicked you out of your home and demands that you get a job. So you can choose from over 50 unique missions and jobs to tackle on your own, or you can play in online or local co-op. Once you earn some sweet in-game cash, there are more than 90 vehicles and 250 clothing items to spend your money on. Boom, bada bing. I mean, it looks kind of fun for a physics-based game. A lot of these games just are more so like annoying to me. But I mean, this one looks fine. What more can I really say? Pico Park 2 also had a shadow drop on the Switch on the same day. So Pico Park, if you don't know, is like a hardcore platformer where you and like 8 or so friends can tackle platforming puzzles together. The game is technically built for between 1 and 8 players, so you can play the game solo or with only 2 people or with up to 8 people. So it's a pretty cool design in that way. Obviously, a lot of people who stream and stuff played Pico Park, and Pico Park 2 is obviously just the next step in the game. I mean, there's nothing that I saw in this trailer that really made me go, oh, that's new. Because even though I didn't really play Pico Park a lot, I still remember a lot of the stuff that they had, and I don't know if there's really anything too super new in here. But I guess I'm just spitballing because I'm going from a trailer, so I can't really say. But in the end, Pico Park 2 coming. It's already available on the Switch. If you want to check that out, there's 60 levels full of ledges, cliffs, and obstacles, with a endless mode and battle mode, and the all new dark mode, which is the ultimate test. Kind of like Unfair Mario or whatever that was called. Shovel Knight Shovel of Hope DX was announced to be coming to the Switch. This is an enhanced edition of the original game where you can now play as all 20 of the new characters, and there is a seamless online multiplayer mode to use as well. If you like Shovel Knight, this one's it's just Shovel Knight again. I don't know if you already have Shovel Knight, if your copy automatically gets upgraded like before. But as of right now, I can only assume that it does. I mean, if you look at the game, it doesn't look any different. It definitely still has that 2D retro pixel art style that is very popular now. But back when Shovel Knight originally came out, it was kind of like a cool thing to kind of have that retro look to it. I mean, obviously, it's still cool. Like the retro look is still cool. Like, I'm not saying that it's ugly now, but it is very much used now. Almost sometimes as a crutch for indie games. But that'll be available in 2025. Europa. This is a 3D action platformer game. I think I talked about this one before. Essentially, you play as like this dude who is kind of like Tears of the Kingdom or Immortals Phoenix Rising, where you go through this world, you solve puzzles, you can glide, fly, boost around. This will be available on October 11th, and there is a free demo available right now for the game if you want to check that out. Yeah, I mean, it looks pretty good. I mean, if you have a kid, I think that a kid would really enjoy this. I mean, you play as like a young boy who is adventuring through this world. I don't think there's anything too abhorrently difficult in the game from what I've seen. So maybe this would be a good one for like a kid's platformer or something like that. Cruiseneer. This is coming the January 28th, 2025. So essentially this is a roguelite adventure where you gather ingredients by dungeon crawling, and then you take your ingredients and you do like a plate up style kitchen management type thing where you cook meals for people and you deliver them on time and you get money. And yes, it does also seem very close to Dave the Diver, except not underwater. So, you know, it also has some anthropomorphic characters in there, which is always charming, I suppose. If you want to check that out, like I said, it's coming next year in January. On Your Tail got another trailer. This is coming the 21st of November, 2024. If you don't remember, this is a detective game where you play as a detective and you go around gathering reports from people and finding various clues, but there's also other things to do like cooking and I don't even know. But also one of the key things about this game is your like mind palace place. You go in there and you recreate the events in your head with these little standee characters and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean it's kind of cutesy looking. That'll be available the 21st of November. Next up was Metal Slug Tactics. I've been waiting for this game for quite a while, and I'm kind of leery of it now because of the latest release from the Metal Slug people was that tower defense game or whatever it was, and it just wasn't really that amazing. It was just the phone game ported over to a PC, which yeah, it wasn't great. This one, I believe, was built from the ground up to be on like PC and stuff like that, and the graphics are still nice. I really enjoy the environments that you see, but essentially this is a turn-based tactical, you know, kind of game where you run around and try and defeat the enemies, and you have special moves, and you can get into the super vehicles and stuff like that, and level up your characters. So this is definitely one that I am very much interested in, being a Metal Slug fan. Metal Slug Tactics. This is coming fall of 2024. The Plucky Squire. I believe we already know the release date, but they reinforced it in this Nintendo Direct. The game is coming out September 17th. The game is looking fantastic. I cannot wait for that. It's very colorful, very cute. This is definitely a day one pickup for me, and I'm sure a lot of people. September 17th, so it's right around the corner, really, only a few weeks away. And finally, for the Indie Direct, Pizza Tower was revealed to be coming to the Switch. I believe it's digital only at this point. Yes, and it's actually out now. It's available now, the digital version. I don't know if they'll do a physical version. If they do a physical version, I would definitely pick that up because Pizza Tower was amazing, and I don't think they ever put out a physical version for like the PS4 or 5 or Xbox or PC even. But I played it on PC originally. It was really good. I really enjoyed my time with it. It was a top 10 game from last year for sure. Could have been number one if a couple of other meatier games didn't come out that I liked a little bit more. But it was definitely an excellent time. I really enjoyed it. The graphics are crazy. And like anxiety inducing. There's plenty of like variety in the levels and stages and stuff like that. So it's definitely worth playing. And if you're a Switch user, boom, bada bing, here you go. You can play it on the go or in the comfort of your own home. Not sponsored. So yeah, Pizza Tower, that's available right now on the Switch if you want to check that out. And that was the end of the indie part of the Direct. And I thought that the indie Direct was really good. Once again, we are seemingly getting a ton of roguelites. And the roguelite crowd is eating it up, of course. But, you know, I'm not going to complain because a lot of these games turn out to be really good, but there is a bit of a saturation in the market. I remember back when Hades came out, and there was also Slay the Spire, and and you know, the original version of Dead Cells, like that was like roguelites was like, oh, that's cool, that's new, that's super cool. Like these are genre defining games. They can't be, you know, we're taking this rogue idea and we're twisting and turning it around. So I think at this point the roguelike genre has exploded, much like the Souls genre, and we're just getting maybe a bit too many of them per year, which is starting to saturate the player base there, or the games in you know, in terms of the player base. So, but other than that, I enjoyed the show in its entirety. And usually these indie directs are pretty good. There's hardly any indie directs that I go, oh, that was bad, you know. Whereas like Nintendo directs or partner showcases, I can go, yeah, there's a couple in there that were technically, or at least in my opinion, bad. This indie direct was good. I enjoyed it, and I hope you did too. All right, let's talk about the partner showcase, which was the same day, just a little bit after the indie direct. Tetris Forever was the first thing that they showed off, and this is a pretty cool one. This is actually coming to pretty much every console and system, so it's not Switch exclusive, but obviously Tetris had a big upstart on the Game Boy, the original Game Boy, so it's hard not to think of Tetris as a Nintendo game, you know. But essentially Tetris Forever includes a whole slew of Tetris games, not just like the basic Tetris formula, right? It actually has a slew of Tetris games. I'm trying to find the part in the video where they showed it. There we are. We have Tetris, we have Hatris, we have Tetris 2, we have Super Bomb Bliss DX, Tetris, Tetris 2 plus Bomb Bliss, Super Tetris 2, and Super Tetris 3. Those will all be available in one package. And then Nintendo also revealed that in winter you'll be getting the original Tetris for the Game Boy on the Nintendo Switch Online service, which is pretty cool. And so that's very cool. I very much enjoy that. Also, there will be a Tetris 99 Maximus Cup for the 40th anniversary of Tetris. So that'll be available in winter as well. So Tetris Forever, they didn't give a full release date for it, but it is coming sometime in 2024. And they also revealed that there's a game mode that like switches the different versions of Tetris randomly, which could be really interesting. Like you're playing Hatris and then all of a sudden you get changed to Tetris 3 or whatever. I feel like that's pretty crazy. That's pretty cool. So it's definitely on my list. I do love Tetris. And also in the game will be included is a documentary about the history of Tetris, so that's pretty cool too. There's also like that Apple TV movie that came out. I never saw it. I didn't even look at any reviews for it. I hope that it's good, but I don't know. I don't know personally. So if you want to check that out too, but yeah, this is pretty cool. So this will be available in 2024, probably towards December time. Star Overdrive. This is, what is this? I kind of forget what this is. It's an open world game where you have, it looks like you have like a surfboard or something like that. Pretty interesting. You do like little surfboard tricks, but you also fight enemies a la like a, I don't know, like a Monster Hunter style, I guess you could say. In the press release, it says, solve puzzles, fight formidable enemies, and wield the powers of the Keytar in this intergalactic adventure. Star Overdrive puts you in control of the hypersonic hoverboard in a distant alien planet as you explore alien biomes in a 3D open-world third-person action-adventure experience. You'll need every ounce of creativity you can master to overcome the challenges and grow your Keytar-based powers. Okay, I mean, that's pretty cool sounding. I guess I didn't really get the gist of it when I watched the direct originally, but it does look kind of cool now that I'm looking at it. And the Keytar is also pretty cool. It seems like there's a bunch of like I don't know, 80s inspired things, because there's also like Dungeons and Dragons mice, or dice. Why did I say mice? Dice littered around the world too. So maybe this is some sort of like dreamland or something like that. Also, there seems to be some sort of sandworm as well that pops out of the ground. So taking inspiration from other sci-fi adventures as well. Goat Simulator 3 shadow dropped on Nintendo Switch. The digital version shadow dropped on the 27th, which was the same day as the Direct. I'm not going to sit here and proclaim that Goat Simulator 3 is the greatest game to ever be made. That is for you to decide. When I played it myself personally, I was a bit unimpressed, especially after the craziness and wackiness that was the original game. I felt like this one just didn't really hit that same huspa for me personally, but if you want to check that out, that is available now. A lot of people commented that the trailer didn't look too great performance-wise. Looking at it now, I mean, I'm not blown away by the performance, but I don't think it looks bad. I don't see anything that looks super bad here. But then again, maybe I just don't have the eye for that slight dip in frame rate that other people see. I don't know. That's available now on Switch and other platforms. Let's see. Here they did a little sizzle reel of partners for the Nintendo Switch. So, Star Wars Hunters Season 3 is starting up on the 24th of September. There's a new character named Pillbush in the game, who is essentially like the what's that hamster called in Overwatch? I forget what the hamster's name is. We'll just call him Hamtaro for now. It's essentially that the Ewok is piloting like a mini ATST or chicken walker. Looks like he has like a regular laser attack and a missile launcher attack that is, usual on an ATST. He's like a big character too. I don't know how he's going to work around these different environments, but yeah, that was shown off. Also, Stalker Legends of the Zone Trilogy will be available on Switch in November of 2024, so that's coming around soon. You'll be able to play all 3 of the games on the Nintendo Switch for the first time ever. I don't know if there's a physical edition coming, but it would be nice to see a physical edition for these games. Also, Worms Armageddon Anniversary Edition is coming the 26th of September. If you know Worms, you know the game. You play as these little worm dudes. You try and blow the other team up with various weaponry. This one originally launched in 1999, and now it's relaunching with the Anniversary Edition on September 26th. And then finally, for that sizzle reel, Disney Dreamlight Valley End of Summer in-game event will be between the 4th and 26th of September. The Disney and Pixar Life Sim adventure kicks off its end-of-summer in-game event that can only be described as magical. Grab your binoculars and search the valley for specialty marshmallows to make tasty treats with exclusive rewards. Now, I didn't say that there was any new characters coming to the game, but I can only assume that there's probably going to be a new character here or there. I can only assume. I haven't played the game, so I don't know exactly, but you know. After the sizzle reel was the SpongeBob SquarePants Patrick Star game, or the Patrick Star game. This is coming the 4th of October. Essentially, this game was leaked last week. I didn't talk about it because I hate to talk about leaks. I like to have the footage in front of me and the information in front of me because you never know. But essentially, you play as Patrick in a Human Fall Flat-esque style world where it's all physics-based. So Patrick kind of flip-flops and whatever's around. But it also seems like occasionally you can stand up and do like mini games and stuff like that. But it's mostly just like Patrick fumbling around, doing his thing in a physics-based world. And for what it's worth, I think it looks a tad bit better than the SpongeBob game that came out earlier this year. Was it this year? Holy shit! It's been this year has flown by. What was that SpongeBob game called? The Cosmic Shake. When did that come out? The Cosmic Shake. 2023. Holy shit. I'm having a brain aneurysm right now. So the SpongeBob game from last year, the Cosmic Shake, it looks better than that for sure. I think that the graphic style I think the graphics look better. Maybe not. Maybe the gameplay looks better. I mean, it's designed around this flippity floppity Patrick. So that'll be coming, like I said, on the 4th of October. I believe it's coming to all systems, not just Switch, but. Check that out if you want to. I think it looks kind of neat. I will say it looks kind of neat. Fitness Boxing 3, Your Personal Trainer, that's the full name, is coming December 5th. If you're a workout enthusiast or if you're someone who wants to get into working out, this is a good training software, I guess you could say, that kind of gets you into the groove. Obviously, going to a gym and actually doing things with weights and stuff like that is going to build up your muscle mass and allow you to burn calories maybe a little bit faster than just doing vigorous activity, but it's still a good way to get you out of your seat and start moving around. So if you're someone who's trying to lose weight and just can't, and you're too nervous to go to a gym, like myself, I have gym anxiety, or if you don't want the price tag associated with buying various weights and weight systems, it is a decent idea to start your journey with this fitness boxing game. Or there was also the Ring Fit Adventure game, which I know people really enjoyed, and people said it was pretty good in terms of like something to get you going, something to an athletic kind of little game there. So if you want to check that out, there you go. I personally will use VR games for vigorous activities like this. It's pretty much the same. We're using your whole body to move things around. Sometimes it's a little bit more motion, sometimes a little bit less. It's hard to say. But anyway, that is coming December 5th, like I said. The Capcom Fighting Collection 2 is coming in 2025. Capcom is giving gamers the chance to relive another 8 classic fighting games from its vaults, including Capcom vs. SNK 2, Mark of the Millennium 2001, Power Stone 2, Plasma Sword, Nightmare of Bilstein, and more, featuring unique gameplay variety from classic toe-to-toe throwdowns to multiplayer brawlers and explosive environments. So yeah, this is coming in 2025. They also said that there will be online for, I think, all the games they said, which is pretty cool too. So if you want to check that out, that's coming next year. And then they also, of course, touched upon Marvel vs. Capcom Fighting Collection, Arcade Classics. Nothing really new to say here other than the game is coming digitally on September 12th. The physical version of the game is November 22nd. And the game is going to include X-Men Children of the Atom, Marvel Superheroes, X-Men vs. Street Fighter, Marvel Superheroes vs. Street Fighter, Marvel vs. Capcom Clash of the Superheroes, Marvel vs. Capcom 2, New Age of Heroes, and The Punisher is also going to be on there as well. And I believe there is multiplayer for this too. Online multiplayer. I'm definitely going to be picking up this physical version of this because you never know with licensing and stuff like that. The game might be gone from stores in a couple years. You never know, okay? A game called Atelier Yumiya, The Alchemist of Memories and the Envisioned Land is coming in 2025. I believe this is a long-running series in Japan that they've recently brought over to the Americas. Personally, other than the big booby anime girls, it doesn't really pique my interest. It's a JRPG around the concept of memory. This puts you in the role of a new protagonist for this series named Yumiya, and as she confronts her past in this beautiful fantasy adventure, enhance your skills, defeat enemies, and explore a vast open world. And like I said, that's coming early 2025. After that, Suikoden 1 and 2 HD Remaster, Gate Ruin, and Duncan Unification Wars is coming the 6th of March, 2025. This is a legendary RPG series, and it will be returning with a newly remastered version of Suikoden 1 and 2. Meet up and befriend up to 108 allies. Build up your home base, expand your sphere of influence, and unite with your allies to fight for justice. Employ intuitive turn-based fighting mechanics and make use of the new support features like one-button automation and sped-up battle animations. So yeah, that is coming next year. If you're a fan of turn-based RPGs, this is definitely one to check out if you so desire. And also, Dragon Quest III HD 2D remake finally has, or it does have, a release date of the 14th of November. The game itself is, I mean, you know, for a remake of a very old game, it looks pretty good. I mean, I'm not going to complain about it personally, but maybe ask a Dragon Age fan or Dragon Quest fan before me, because I don't know much about Dragon Quest. I don't think I've ever even played a Dragon Quest game personally. Yeah, if you want to check that out, that'll be available the 14th of November. They already said that the other games in the trilogy are coming around too, but the third game takes place before the first game, so that's why they're releasing the third game first, which I learned the last time they announced the game. So there you go. Well, we got a lot of collections. So the Castlevania Dominus collection is actually available right now digitally. I believe there is a physical version coming, I believe. Don't quote me on that, though. But these are all the Castlevania games that were on the Nintendo DS. So I'm guessing they had to be a bit reconfigured for modern platforms, because this is also available on Steam and the other consoles as well. These games, I know that there's at least 2 games that people say are some of the best in the series or something like that. And there's one that is like maybe less liked. I don't know though, because I never played any of these games. I had a DS, but I had no interest in Castlevania. I still really don't have like that big of an interest in Castlevania, even though I've played like 2 of them now. But anyway, all these games released on the original Nintendo DS. So get ready to slash, crawl, and fight your way through 3 classic platforming adventures, including Castlevania Dawn of Sorrow, Castlevania Portrait of Ruin, and Castlevania Order of Celestia. plus 2 versions of Haunted Castle, the arcade game that started it all. The original and the reimagined version will be available with the collection too. Probably just to make sure that the $40 price tag or whatever it is works. So I'm seeing here you can choose between a few different layouts and versions of the games. There is a multi-display layout for them. There is also controller motions instead of touch controls. So instead of going on the touchpad and doing like a triangle, you probably hold down a button and then do like a triangle with your joystick. And also, I guess, doing stuff. There's also a rewind feature, so you don't have to experience the dying part of the game. There's also a quick save as well, so you can save anywhere in the game. There's also a gallery for all 3 games as well, or I guess 4 games as well. So if you're a fan of Castlevania, this is big for you because they haven't re-released these games since the Nintendo DS. I'm sorry, there was a 3DS version of at least one of them, right? But they really, these games have been kind of stuck on their respective console, so now they're officially available everywhere. Sid Meier's Civilization 7. We already knew that this was coming, and we already pretty much knew this was coming to Switch anyway. But they did announce, yes, there's a Switch version of Civilization 7 coming around. So that'll come out the same day as the regular game on February 11th. I already talked about that last week. Tales of Grace's F Remastered. I don't even remember this being in the showcase. But then again, I do tune out during most anime segments. This is... Let's see. This is a game that originally released on the Wii. It's an RPG, a JRPG with improved graphics and an autosave feature. So I guess if you're a fan of the series, it's coming back, and you can I guess play it on the 17th of January. My Sims Cozy Bundle. So there were 2 Sims games that came out on the Wii, I believe. One of them was like I don't even remember. But anyway, My Sims Kingdom was like a medieval style Sims game, and then My Sims, the original one, was like it was like a Sims game on the Wii essentially. But the characters were more cutesy, and it was motion controlled and stuff like that. So they're re-releasing these games on November 19th with the Cozy Bundle. There will be a physical adventure. There's a physical version. It's a 2-in-1 adventure, so 2 for the price of 1. Not too bad. If you played these games back in the day, I know that like Scott the Woz really liked My Sims Kingdom. That's not me saying that I'm going to go out and buy it just because Scott the Woz liked it when he was like 10 years old, but I guess it's something. It's something. But this is also the first time these games have been seen off their respective consoles, and it's cool to see stuff like that. But personally, I'm not like super interested in buying this. But maybe if you're a Sims fan, maybe check this out. These two games are pretty unique for the Sims series in general. All right, happy birthday, Five Nights at Freddy's or Freddy Fazbear. Five Nights at Freddy's Help Wanted 2 and Security Breach's new DLC called Ruin will be available on the Switch in the near future, holiday of 2024. So the one game, Help Wanted 2, is a VR game, so they've ported it to the Switch with just regular controls. So it's probably not going to be as fun as like the VR adventure. I guess there's like parts where you like do arcade games and you put makeup on Roxy for whatever reason. But you do a bunch of like stuff that would be more intuitive in VR. So I guess that this maybe wouldn't be the best way to play Help Wanted 2, but if it's the only thing you have, then I guess it's not too bad. And then like I said, they also announced that the Ruin DLC for Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach is going to be coming to the Switch as well. I believe that the Ruin DLC takes place in like a more dilapidated, rundown version of like the Freddy Fazbear's big arcade what's it called? Dave and Buster's or something like that. But if you want to check that out, those will be available in holiday 2024. Then we had another sizzle reel. Epic Mickey came back around. There's a demo out right now if you want to check that out. Tales of the Shire, a Lord of the Rings game, is coming in holiday 2024, so they just kind of reconfirming that that's coming to the Switch. Just Dance 2025 edition is coming out October 15th on the Switch and other platforms. Funko Fusion still coming around on holiday 2024. EA Sports FC 25 is coming out on the 27th of September. And Lego Horizon Adventures was reconfirmed for holiday 2024. But people believe that Sony accidentally released had the release date for the game on their webpage, and actually looking at this right now, this little screenshot that they're showing, yes, it looks like they did accidentally show the release date of November 14th. So we'll see if that's true or not, or if that was just a placeholder or something like that. I guess we'll see, but that's kind of funny that they accidentally did that. And it wasn't even like a third party either. Usually it's like, oh, the Taiwanese rating board, or oh, Amazon, or oh, Best Buy had the release date. No, it was Sony themselves that accidentally had it on there. Rune Factory, Guardians of Azuma. This is coming spring of 2025. This is a reimagined Rune Factory experience where you call upon the forces of nature to restore the land and gods of the eastern region of Azuma. And finally, for the partner direct, Yakuza Kiwami is coming to the Switch on October 24th. This is the first game, or I guess the first game in the series, is that right? Even though Zero technically comes before this game, this is the first one that was released. So this is, I think that's a good idea for them to bring Yakuza over to the system. I don't think, I do think that they maybe waited a little bit too long. I mean, technically we're in like the dying year. Well, I mean, people say that it's the last year for the Switch, but we've got a pretty good slew of games on the Switch coming out, with the Mario and Luigi game, the Legend of Zelda game, and the Super Mario game coming out, Super Mario Party game coming out. I feel like we have a nice slate of games for the final year of the Switch, so I personally wouldn't put too much stock into the fact that, like, oh, they're putting Yakuza onto the system the last year of the Switch. I think it's like the last year and a half at this point. From what I think is, we're gonna have another at least half a year of strong Switch content before the Switch 2 was even announced. So that's just my opinion. That's just my opinion. There was a few other things announced at the Japanese version of the showcase, including Refined Self, the personality test game, which we've already talked about before. A game called Platform 8 is confirmed for the Switch, which is kind of like based on, that walking down a hallway and something changes, right? A game called Q2 Humanity was shown off, which there's like 300 stages of like puzzles where you play as like this little 2D puzzle guy and you try and bounce a ball, or it's like a physics-based like game. Like it's hard to describe. And of course, it's all in Japanese, so I have no clue what they are talking about. Also, other things in the Japanese version. A game called Animal Tower Battle is available now on the Japanese version of the store, which essentially is like a stacking game where you stack animal JPEGs on top of each other. I mean, it's kind of cute, I'm not going to lie. Also, something called Disney Music Parade Encore is coming the 21st of November. This is a Switch version of the mobile rhythm game called Disney Music Parade Encore. It will include English language support, so it's probably coming to the U.S. as well. 60 songs in total. It doesn't look too bad in terms of like a mobile game ported onto the Switch. It just looks a little bit basic in terms of gameplay. It looks like it's literally just like two buttons in your joystick, But there's that. But yeah, pretty much everything else was kind of the same. Kill the Crows is coming to Switch, the Japanese version coming to Switch. Yeah, other than that, not too much else that I really need to talk about. But yeah, so that was the partner showcase. Once again, I thought that it was a little bit, I mean, I say worse, but in terms of, it's not like it's like terrible. It wasn't as good as the Indie Direct, in my opinion. It still had some good stuff in here, don't get me wrong, but it just wasn't like, it wasn't knocking me off of out of my seat, Probably just give it like a C tier for the partner direct, but the Indie Direct was like a B tier or a high B tier. I thought that that was pretty darn good, especially the Shrek DLC. Okay, let's move on to what have I been playing this past week. Okay, of course, the first game to talk about in this section is Star Wars Outlaws, which recently came out on Friday for me. But for a lot of people, they bought it on like Tuesday or whatever with the deluxe edition. I'll talk more about that later. So actually, maybe I'll just talk about it right now because it's really kind of annoying me. So essentially what happened is Ubisoft was like, hey, if you got the deluxe edition of Outlaws and got the game early, you got to restart your save. It doesn't matter how far along you're in it. If you're on the PS5 and you've and you started playing the game early, you got to restart because there's several game-breaking bugs in this version of the game that is fixed with the day one patch. So people who bought the $110 gold edition will have to restart their game as of Friday because day one patches usually fix shit, So it's very annoying to me personally that, one, people are still supporting this, like, oh, pay an extra $50 to $40, $40 to $50 at some points to get a game early, just to have it really not play as well or not have all the contents in it from the get-go. Same thing happened with Madden 25. One of the modes in Madden 25 wasn't ready, and they released it on the official release date. So it's like, okay, so you paid an extra like $30 to $40 to play these games early, and what do you know? They're not complete, or they have issues because they're still technically working on those games, working on those updates, pushing out updates for the day one patch, while the game's already being played by thousands, if not tens of thousands of people. So that's very annoying. And obviously if you were someone who got the $110 version of the game, one, I would like to know why you need to get the game early. Are you a reviewer? Are you a journalist? Are you just that big of a Star Wars fan that you felt like you needed to get it early? I'm just trying to get into the mind of someone who buys games early simply because, there's like that gold edition that releases 3 days early or whatever. I just cannot wrap my mind around that. Like, there were back in the day when like the I think it was Battlefield 4 came out. There was like an edition of the game that you paid an extra $20 to get the game like 1 day early. I remember that, and I remember back in the day feeling like, wow, that's kind of shitty. I mean, yeah, you get like a leg up on the other people who are buying the game like the next day. But it's like, why am I paying an extra $20 to get this game 1 day early? I stopped doing that back in like high school because, one, I didn't have enough money from my job at McDonald's to pay for like an extra, $70 at the time for a day early access. It's stupid. And nowadays with like 3 or 4 day early access, it's even more egregious because now with day one patches being available, why get the game early when you're gonna get in a broken and or unready state? It just doesn't make any sense. And yeah, I mean, obviously the game was playable up until a point, but that's besides the point, really. So anyway, I'm gonna remove that from my mind while I talk about Star Wars Outlaws, just in general. The verdict is in, folks. Is Star Wars Outlaws bad? No. I don't think it's bad at all. I think that's in terms of like a different take on Star Wars. That's not just like a first-person shooter or a third-person like Jedi game, like the Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order games. I think it's a nice take on the Star Wars universe. It takes place during that sweet spot of like after the Death Star is destroyed, but before like the Death Star 2 is in Return of the King is there. It takes place in that nice sweet spot where the Empire is strong and they're everywhere and you're dealing with them. Because obviously that's kind of where I started my love for Star Wars, was during the original trilogy timeline. And I know a lot of people who also grew up around my same age range also grew up with that, but also, I technically saw episode 1 first and then I got the trilogy, but it's besides the point. This is a nice sweet spot for a lot of people. That's all I'm trying to say. Is that this moment in time where the Empire is at its, maybe not at its strongest because the Death Star was just destroyed, but it's a very strong point. And of course, like the Jedi Fallen Order and Jedi Survivor also take place, after the rise of the Empire, and they're at their strongest then too. Like, I get it, but this is a bit of a different take because you're not just using a lightsaber. You have your blaster. You have all these like stealth mechanics in there and these like scoundrel activities to do. It is a bit of a unique take on it. Back in the day, it was very much like, okay, it's a first person or a third person shooter. And even though obviously they changed things up, like the Jango Fett game has the bounty system, and the Jedi Outcast games has force abilities and such like that. This is definitely a nice take on Star Wars nowadays. It's a third-person shooter action game, Graphically, it looks amazing. I think that the lighting is used really well. I think that the environments you go through look incredibly well done. There's a lot of detail in these games, or at least in this game, I should say. You're just kind of going through a cantina, and the atmosphere is really great. Even though it doesn't boast anything like super cool, like, oh, each NPC has their own day-to-day life. Like, I don't really need that per se, because I'm not going to follow an NPC around all day, right? But I think what they do is they have a nice variety of both species and other things inside of these various areas that you go to. Now, I am on the first planet right now, so it's not like I'm super deep into the game, but I have met the core factions of the game that you're kind of working with, and I think it does have an interesting system of, if you do something for this group of scoundrels, you'll gain respect with them, and you can go through areas that you couldn't go through before. But if you do that, then another group who don't like them you'll get less reputation with them, and they'll do stuff to hinder you. So I think that concept is pretty well done in the game so far. The voice acting has also been really good. I very much have enjoyed the voice acting in the game. And the gunplay is, I mean, you don't get to use it a lot within the first, couple hours of the game, because it's very much like scripted for the first, couple hours. But once you get into the open world and you can actually start taking down like, smuggler bases and doing stuff like that, it does feel pretty good. There are points where it does feel a little bit generic though, because to do a stealth takedown, you just crouch behind someone and press square, and it's an animation that takes them down. And there's a few different variants of the animation, of course. So that's kind of like the generic part of the game, where it's like, okay, you sneak around, and you take down enemies from behind, like most third-person action stealth games. The unique part is that you have your little critter guy, who you can command to distract enemies, or actually you can tell him to go and steal stuff for you if you're walking around a city, or pickpocket other people as well. And then also in combat scenarios, you can have him pick up weapons for you, or you can have him sabotage things and make barrels explode too, which is nice. So I think that they've supplemented some of that generic gameplay with some actual interesting stuff thrown in there with the little critter that you have and stuff like that. There's also a pretty nice hacking minigame where you use like a little tool pick thing to, how R2-D2 puts his dick into the socket. It's kind of like that, where the things are whirling around and they're making different noises, and you need to tap the button along with the noise in order to hack it fully. I think that's actually a nice version of hacking. It gives you a little bit of challenge, but it also is not super hard that you're never going to get it right. There's other things too, like there's other hacking minigames, much like the Fallout series has multiple ways to hack and pick lock things, or lock pick things. Essentially, you have another one that's like matching symbols, and it gives you you pick 3 at a time, and it's like if one is in a correct spot, it turns green. If one is in the sequence but not in the correct spot, it turns yellow, and if one's not in the sequence, it turns red. And I think it's a pretty nice hacking system. And there's not a lot of games that like really think about their hacking, right? And we recently played the abhorrent Secret Agent Clank, which had a terrible hacking system. There's another hacking system from like the Saw series where you go like first person mode through like the lock. I think that's in Saw, which is also very strange. But then there's the more basic ones. It's like, okay, just hold down square to lockpick, like in like in Dishonored, or in The Evil Within, or something like that, where it's just like, okay, what am I really doing here? I'm just holding down a button. So it's nice that this one's a little bit more interactive. It's a bit unique in terms of like hacking mechanics, which is nice. I like that. The gunplay itself feels pretty good. Your regular blaster, it holds unlimited ammo, but it overheats, and I'm sure you'll be able to upgrade that as you go along. I haven't really had to use the combat too much throughout the start of the game, but when you do get to use it, it feels pretty good. It feels pretty good. It feels pretty cinematic. And of course, you can have you can pick up the enemy's guns for a little while and use them, and they're obviously harder hitting, but they have a limited amount of blaster fire in them. Or if you move on to a new section, usually your character drops the weapons, which is kind of annoying, but whatever. What else? What else? Oh, so when you originally boot up the game, it has like the letterboxing at the top and the bottom, which was in the Evil Within, and I thought it was the most annoying thing ever. Yes, it is still pretty annoying, so I definitely turned that off almost right away. Yeah, it's still on during the cutscenes, which is fine because that's cinematic. But when I'm in gameplay, I like to have the full screen. The letterboxing just does it's just kind of annoying to me personally. So all in all, my initial thoughts of Star Wars Outlaws as a Star Wars fan who's been a fan since Episode 1, and I've watched the original trilogy so many times when I was a kid. I'm enjoying it. I think that it's pretty fun. It's not the greatest Star Wars game ever so far, but it's still pretty good. I'm enjoying myself, which is a nice thing. And in this day and age with Star Wars being kind of up and down, hot and cold, very hot and cold at times, especially in like the TV shows and the movies, it's nice to see at least the video games are pretty much all hitting. Like even Star Wars Hunters, I had a bit of fun with before it just kind of became like repetitive nonsense. But it's nice to see that the games at least are keeping up with the quality. And I'm excited to play more of it. I'm probably gonna hold off diving super deep into it until after I beat SteamWorld Heist 2 and Astrobot, which comes out later this week. But once I have time, like that, once I beat those games that I want to play more, I'll get back to Star Wars Outlaws and continue on with it. So very, very interested in continuing that. In terms of other games that I've been playing that I haven't been streaming, Madden 25, I've kind of gotten to that point where I'm getting a bit annoyed with the game, mostly because the game it's supposed to be simulation football. I'm playing simulation football. I have the guys on all Madden, and yet I'm still winning these games 48-17 sometimes, or 48-20, 21. And I'm like, I'm not like, ask Greedy Waffles. I'm not the greatest Madden or football player ever when it comes to console games, okay? I'm throwing the ball at the worst time, getting an interception. I have the worst luck sometimes with my characters just fumbling randomly or just not wanting to catch the ball, right? I'm terrible at these games. I'll say it right now. I suck at Madden, okay? It's not that big of a deal because I know this for a long, long time. I enjoy playing them for the most part, but I'm not always great at these games. Madden 25, for whatever reason, will not let me lose a game. When I'm playing in a computer player, I cannot lose a game. And a lot of people would be like, oh, that's cool, that's neat, that's awesome, you get to win every single time. No, it's not cool and awesome. When I'm playing as the fucking Colts, I should not be beating the fucking 49ers by 30 points. It just shouldn't happen. I mean, obviously that stuff happens in real life. A team has a bad day or a good team loses some key players. But in this version of Madden, right now that we're playing, you have the best version of the team because the season hasn't started yet. Once the season starts, then then they'll start substituting out characters and stuff like that. Players and adjusting values. But right now you have the best version of the team, and right now like the Colts are like an 82 overall, and the 49ers like a they're like a 92 or a 94 over. It's something crazy, right? So yeah, that's the thing. It's like I shouldn't be winning these games by so much, and then when I am losing, for whatever reason, the game will be like, oh, you randomly get an interception here. Oh, the other team automatically just fumbles every time you hit them. Like there was a point where there was like 5 fumbles in a row where I was just hitting the character normally with the square button, and they would just fumble the ball. The other team would just fumble the ball constantly. And I'm like, this isn't fun. Like this is not fun for me to be given a win, I don't want to be given a win. I want to fight for that win. And even when I put the game at all Madden, maxed out stats, playing the 49ers, the game still was like, oh, you're losing? Let's help you out. I don't need that shit. I don't need that. I want my game to be a simulation football game, not a give them a win, we feel bad for them kind of game. Which is how I feel like the game is right now. So in the end, I think I'm just about done with the game. I'm almost through an entire season of that character creator mode. So it's not, I don't think there's much more that I really want to do in the game. Obviously, I'll still play it here and there, just like college football. So it's not like it's completely, gonna be collecting dust on my shelf for forever, But it's still one of those things where it's like, okay, I bought it to compare it to college football. Both games kind of disappointed me in multiple ways. I actually lowered my score for college football down to a 3 out of 5, just because of how inconsistent and crazy that game has been. And Madden 25, I feel like it's about the same level. I'd probably give it a 3 out of 5 at this point as well. Maybe a little bit better because the graphics I think look better in Madden 25, but it's really I don't know. It's hard to say. But yeah, Madden 25, not too crazy about it. I had fun with it for what it's worth. I thought the graphics looked great, and I thought the gameplay was decent. I think the new, that stupid boom technology, I mean, I'm not going to praise the game for the boom technology, but I do feel like it did make a little bit of a difference. Animations and stuff looked a little bit better in terms of like when you do use the hit stick and stuff like that. But as Angry Joe said in his video, it's not like the hit stick is anything new. The boom technology isn't anything new. I mean, that's been in the Madden series since the PS2 days. So it's not like it's something crazy. And there's been hit sticks for so long too. So I guess the boom technology is technically just the new ragdoll animations. But even then, the animations don't look great all the time, But yeah, Madden 25. If you're a fan of football games and Madden, I mean, you're gonna like this one. It's not like it's any different than that. But as me personally, I'm still waiting for a better experience. And like I said the last time I talked about it, the last Madden game I played was 22, and I didn't feel like that was any good. And Madden 25, I feel like it's better. It's going in the right direction, but at this point, I've kind of lost my faith in the Madden franchise from EA, so it's unfortunate. I've also, of course, been playing SteamWorld Heist 2. Last night, I played probably about 5 hours straight, and I made a lot of progress. I now have pretty much free reign over the map, which is really fun. Go back and redo things. So yes, I went back and I redid that mission that I was missing a star in the opening, in one of the opening areas. So I went back and did that, and like I said last week, the game is getting was getting decently more difficult. But as soon as I started getting the better weapons from the area, it started to get a bit easier. So I think that my assumption was correct. That they start you off with it is a step up in the next area. But once you start getting those level 3 weapons and into level 4 weapons, things start to become a bit easier. I've also been swapping around weapons more with my characters because each weapon has a different class type associated with it, and you can unlock abilities from other classes to help with the new one. So if you have a character who is an explosive character, they get all these really cool things for explosives. You give them a melee weapon, now you have a bunch of those things for the explosives plus the melee. And now if you get them a submachine gun, now you have the flanker rule. So, you get a bunch of, you can combine a bunch of things there. So I think the customization is off the charts in this one as well, which is really nice. In terms of gameplay, if you like SteamWorld Heist 1, you're going to love this one. It feels about the same. It's a bit more challenging in terms of enemy variety and stuff like that. The enemies who have armor on are kind of a pain in the ass at times. But there are ways to get around that, of course, and obviously planning is also a good thing. I've also been using the load checkpoint system, which takes you back about 2 turns, which there are some times where it's just I'm stuck, I need to just end the level, right? But there are other times where, I just make a minor mistake, or I position my character in the wrong place, and instead of being punished by, that character's dead and you can't do anything about it, you can go back 2 turns and redo your thing or redo your aim and have a good, and come out of it without having to replay the level 3 times, So I'm very much enjoying SteamWorld Heist 2. I'm planning on finishing it hopefully before Astrobot comes out. But once Astrobot comes out, you all know that I'm going to be playing that religiously for however long it takes me. But SteamWorld Heist 2, very good, very much enjoying that. A game called Shire came out in early access on Steam. I decided to pick it up. It's good. I'm not blown away by it, though. In terms of tower defense games that I've played, it's cute. It kind of reminds me of that Toy Soldiers game, or Oh, it is called Toy Soldiers. Okay, well, Toy Soldiers game, separate from the movie and that franchise, I guess. But it reminds me of that because you're playing as like this kid and you put down like the army men stuff and you're trying to defend against like the robots and bugs and stuff like that. I think in terms of like gameplay, it's fine. But as Greedy Waffles and I have discussed, it for whatever reason the game is like super difficult at times. Like you're setting up your defenses and you feel like you have a good defense, and then all of a sudden like the game is just like, no, you're dead. I was playing on stream and I was like, yeah, this is cool, but like, why the heck, like, did I get totally destroyed on wave 5 of this one? I was doing fine throughout the entire time. And then also like the little kid's voice that they used is also very annoying. There's a way to mute the character, but it doesn't seem to work. So whatever. So anyway, Toy Shire, I'm going to play more of it before I give a final verdict, of course, but as of right now, I'm not super into it. I would rather, if you're going to play a tower defense game, I talked about a game called No Creeps Were Harmed TD a couple weeks ago now, and I thought that was much better than Toy Shire. Still playing that one, actually. All right, for games we streamed this past week, we started off with Puss in Boots on the Wii. This was actually a surprisingly fun game. Now it was a bit basic and it didn't do a lot with the concept, but I thought the parts where you were sword fighting were pretty fun. You could knock people into like barrels and walls and stuff like that, and continue beating on them. Those parts of the game were fun. The part that wasn't fun, or the parts that weren't fun, were the platforming sections, which were very basic. Essentially, it was like an auto runner, and you jumped over things and dodged things, and then you would occasionally climb and do some shimmying around. I just thought that those sections weren't very fun. But the rest of the game was, when you were sliding down the vines, when you were fighting the enemies, you're doing some stealth stuff. I thought that was also pretty cute. You know, and you had to like move your Wii remotes, and then like when the enemy looked your way, you had to stop and freeze. I thought that was kind of cute. You know, for like a Puss in Boots game that is based off of the movie that came out before The Last Wish. It was a fun time. It was decent enough. I enjoyed it personally. I ended up giving it a B tier with a 3.5 out of 5. If you have Puss in Boots for the Wii, maybe check that out. I thought it was kind of fun. I know that there's a PS3 version as well, which uses the Move controllers, which could also be good too. Maybe updated graphics might look a little bit better. I was very interested in seeing like what the trophies were for the game. They seem a bit grindy, so I'm not gonna go out and buy Puss in Boots just for the trophies, you know. We also played We Love Katamari Reroll plus Royal Reviere, or Reviere. I loved this game. You could say that I loved Katamari Reroll. I thought that it was such a step up from Katamari Damacy. I had to actually bring down Katamari Damacy because We Love Katamari was better in general. Even though I still love Katamari Damacy, I think that Katamari Damacy is a great game. I'm moving that down to S tier, and we're putting We Love Katamari Reroll into the best games of all time, in my opinion. I really had a good time with it. The things that they fixed, one, you can now see exactly what you need in a level to complete it. So if you missed a gift or a cousin, it'll show you. Two, there's much more variety in the stages. So you're not just going through the same areas over and over again. There's much more variety. Like there's an underwater one to do. There is multiple. There's just so many. It's hard to like really say. There's so many different areas and levels to go through now. And three, I thought the camera controls were improved, and they added a move that allows you to press both the sticks in, and your character jumps over the ball and starts moving the opposite direction that you were moving, which is amazing. I use that so often. It was such a lifesaver. So yeah, all in all, I thought it was much better than Katamari Damacy, so much so that I gave We Love Katamari a 5 out of 5. It is now one of my favorite games of all time. Katamari Damacy, sorry, you're still a 4.5 and a soft spot in my heart, but you're S tier, not goated. So if you want to check it out, I would totally recommend Katamari Reroll. We Love Katamari Reroll I thought that it was great. The new content that they added in with the Royal Riviere was pretty fun to go through as well, and the levels are endlessly replayable. I had so much fun just doing the final mission where you're just rolling the entire world. I had a lot of fun with that, just redoing it over and over again, seeing all the things that I could get. I'm still playing it here and there on the PS5, just because it's fun to go back and try and get some other stuff in the levels, but yeah, it was really good. It was really good, and I do need to get the original version of the game just to have it. But yeah, that's another Katamari game checkmarked off the list. And funny enough, in order. Sometimes when I randomly, have games randomly chosen for me, you don't always get them in order. Like there's We Love Katamari that I have on my list, and then there was also Beautiful Katamari and Katamari Forever, and in the contest that I'm doing, all three of those games were chosen. It's crazy that We Love Katamari was done first over those two games. It was just but it worked out because I could really appreciate the advances from Katamari Damacy to Katamari, We Love Katamari. So, love that. We also tried playing a game called Cloudpunk. I'm still playing it a little bit in the background, but it was just a very bland and annoying game. Essentially, you play as this character who's essentially like a taxi service. You pick up packages and people, and you go to another place. But it's pretty much a point A to point B simulator where it's just like drive here, then you drive here, then you drive here, then you drive here, then you walk here, and then you drive here. It was just very boring, especially for a game to stream. The story wasn't really that strong in my opinion. The writing was decent, but the dialogue and stuff wasn't like super good. I also had a really hard time with the avatars they used for the characters when they spoke, and the character models in the game were different for whatever. Like they were way different. Like you would in the avatar, the guy would have a full beard and red hair, and he was white, and he had like a race suit on. And then in the game itself, in the in-game model, I don't know if it's random or what, but essentially the character changed ethnicities. So now they're African American, and they weren't wearing a helmet. They weren't wearing race gear. They were wearing a tuxedo. They didn't have a beard. They didn't have red hair. They had black hair. It's just one of those things. It's like, where did this go wrong? Like, this is just so distracting for me personally, because I like to immerse myself into these games, and if the character model in the game doesn't look like the character model from the avatar that you're talking to, it doesn't make any sense. I don't know where that went wrong, because even if you had the character avatars before the ones in game, okay, you can base the character in game on the avatar. If it's the reverse way around, we built the avatar, the characters in game first. Just tell the person who's drawing the avatar how you made them look in the game, and say just make it really super detailed. How does it go? I don't understand. I don't get it. I'm not going to try and understand, but that was very annoying for me personally, and that was kind of the straw that broke the camel's back along with everything else that was going on in the game. So like I said, I'm still playing it here and there in the background, just at my own pace, and I'll probably talk about it more once I finish it, or maybe not. I might just finish it and be like, nah, whatever. So there you go. And then finally, we played and beat Pikmin in one stream. Pikmin 1, the original game. I have the HD version, which I forgot to bring the case up to show to do with the games that I got in this past week. Oh well. So Pikmin 1 is great. I really enjoyed it. Now, of course, I am a bit spoiled because I played Pikmin 4 first. So, having Ochi and having the better Pikmin AI and having more sprawling worlds to explore is obviously going to spoil me, because Pikmin 1, it is more of like a hey, this is this is kind of like a proof of concept, right? Where we have all these different AI characters following you around, and you have the different colors, and the puzzle solving is a bit more basic because it's more so just like, okay, we're doing this to show like, yeah, this can work. We can definitely build and expand upon this, right? So Pikmin 1, it only has like 3 fully fleshed out areas, and there's 2 like mini areas, one being the tutorial and one being the ending area that is pretty much just a straight shot. And those 3 areas that you do explore, 2 of them are really good. I really enjoyed 2 of them. The other one I was not super into. There's one that has there's a water area, and there's like a bunch of walls to destroy with bombs, and there's like a mushroom enemy. I didn't really enjoy that area. The other ones were good though. I felt like the other ones were fairly good. I enjoyed the other areas for the most part. The enemies, pretty good variety in terms of Pikmin 1. Pretty good variety in there. You had your regular Bulbarbs guys, and you had the more advanced ones. You had the floaty ones, and you had the really annoying guy who swoops down and picks up your Pikmin and tries to steal them away. So there's intense moments in there. The Pikmin AI is pretty stupid in this game, so you really have to babysit them. And there was one point which is clipped. I don't know if I featured it on the channel, but it is clipped, where I was just trying to go across a narrow walkway with water on either side, and I guess I went maybe too fast across the bridge because my entire group of like 50 Pikmin fell into the water and almost all of them drowned. It was the Great Pikmin Massacre of August 31st, 2025. I'm sorry, 2024. Don't go too far now. 2024. They will be missed and they will be remembered. But I had fun with it, so it's not like I had a terrible time. I had fun with it. I thought that it was great. I gave it a 4 out of 5. I gave it an A tier. I think I gave it an A tier. I'll have to go back and check. I gave it a 4 out of 5 though. I enjoyed it. I had fun with it. It was definitely worth playing. It took me about 5 hours to beat, which is longer than I normally stream on Saturdays. But I had the time and I was enjoying myself, and I felt like if I stopped and came back, I wouldn't remember where I was and what I was doing because it would have been a couple days. So I just decided to finish it off, and I'm glad that I did. It's a nice one sitting type game, and I found it very charming and enjoyable, and I liked of course I liked getting all the parts and stuff like that. I did miss like getting the Game Boy Advance SP that was in like Pikmin 4 but I kind of missed getting those like little oddities, which I think they added in Pikmin 2. So I am excited to play Pikmin 2 down the road. Pikmin 1 was fun though. I enjoyed it, and I definitely would say, hey, check that out if you want to. We played the Switch version, the Nintendo Switch version. Even though I know people really enjoy the Wii version with the Wii remote controls, I'll have to maybe try that out in the future. But I think it worked pretty well. I know the Switch version is pretty much just the GameCube version if you're using the controller, but you can use the Joy-Cons to use the Wii version. So I didn't mind having the GameCube controls, but I could see how having a Wii remote and being able to move it around the screen would be much more intuitive for the game. So anyway, that was good. I enjoyed that, and I would recommend Pikmin 1 if you want to check that out. Okay, let's move on to what's in the news. First off for the news today, the director behind Dragon's Dogma and Devil May Cry, named Hideaki Itsuno, has left Capcom after being at the studio for 30 years. In a Twitter post, he said, "I have an announcement for all my followers. At the end of August 2024, I will be leaving Capcom after 30 years and 5 months. Thank you for the long-term support of the games and characters I have been responsible for. I hope you will continue to support Capcom's games and characters. From September, I will start developing a new game in a new environment. I hope to create fun, beautiful games that are as memorable as, or even more memorable than, the ones I have created so far. Please stay tuned for my next creation." So, I think he's leaving the company and he's leaving his IPs behind. So he's not going to be able to work on Devil May Cry anymore. He's not going to be able to work on Dragon's Dogma. He also has some PS1 games, Rival Schools, Power Stone 2, and then Capcom vs. SNK 2, Mark of the Millennium 2001. He was also a director on that as well. So it's kind of unfortunate to see him go because, I mean, if you think about it, he was there for the best of Devil May Cry. He directed Devil May Cry 3 and 5. And then he also was there for the Dragon's Dogma 1 and 2. So he definitely has a good tenure with the studio. We probably won't know why he left left Capcom. It's possible that he wanted to make another Devil May Cry game, but they weren't going to fund it. It's possible that his work with Dragon's Dogma 2 was done, and he felt like he wanted to do something completely different, and Capcom didn't want to support whatever he was going to do. It's hard to say what actually happened, but good luck to him. I'm excited to see what he's going to be working on. I'm guessing it's going to be DMC flavored at least. So, we'll see what exactly he does with that. What he does, but tough to see him go for a lot of lifelong fans of his. But hey, we'll see what he does, and hopefully it's something pretty cool. XDefiant is essentially on borrowed time at this point, reported by a unnamed source inside of the development studio. If you don't recall, XDefiant was a game that I said was not going to last very long, especially with the new Black Ops coming out, because this game felt like Black Ops 4 in almost every single way. I talked about it in an episode of Fair 64 probably about a month or two ago now at this point. But essentially, I just said, like, it's fine. It's for a free-to-play shooter. It feels good, but it just feels like Black Ops 4, and I hated Black Ops 4. I will tell you that. I really did hate Black Ops 4. So the game arrived back in May, and it's already had a devastating amount of players leave the game. This is, of course, before Black Ops 6 even had the beta period for it. So an insider inside of the San Francisco Ubisoft company said he's pessimistic about the game's future and that the player numbers have already declined rapidly since the launch of the game. Worse yet, the game itself is not the only thing being questioned about its future, but Ubisoft San Francisco did suffer some major layoffs, with a lot of the team members being laid off, and they will be laid off in the coming months. And a direct quote from the unnamed developer said, "Expect more Ubisoft San Fran layoffs headlines within 6 months." Expect more Ubisoft San Fran layoff headlines within 6 months. So it seems like it's a pretty dire situation over there. The report goes on to say that the higher-ups within Ubisoft are betting on XDefiant Season 3 turning things around, but with Black Ops 6 coming out, I doubt that it's going to retain a player base after that comes out. Because Black Ops, Call of Duty is so big. A lot of people were, like myself, were like, it just feels kind of like Call of Duty. And I'm sure that a lot of people were like, oh, yeah, I'm just playing this to bide time, between the release of the next Call of Duty game, right? So I'm sure it'll have a core fan base for a while. I'm sure that there'll be probably a couple hundred people still playing it once Call of Duty comes out, but I wouldn't expect it to be having a future beyond Season 3. And with higher ups at Ubisoft betting on if Season 3 is going to turn things around, that's also pretty cryptic. So yeah, of course, this all comes from an inside source, so take it with a grain of salt at for what it's worth. But it does seem like I was right. Yes, play the claps. I don't have my soundboard on. Anyway, I was right, and feels good to be right, but also feels kind of bad because a lot of people lost their jobs, and you hate to see that. You do hate to see that. So, XDefiant probably gonna be gone within the next year or so. Hey, speaking of games that have been forgotten about, Foamstars. If you remember, Foamstars launched on the PlayStation Plus Essentials service, so it got a nice boost of players in the first month that it was out. It had a decent side mode, horde mode with other people, but the story for the game was very bare bones. Just essentially it was like 4 or 5 horde modes in a row with some cringy voice acting associated with it. And essentially the multiplayer was fine, but it wasn't anything that I was going to play for a long term. Even when I was playing with friends like Callus and Greedy Waffles, I was playing it and I was like, this is definitely on borrowed time. Like, if XDefiant is on borrowed time, this Foamstars is on borrowed time. Like, this really has no substance to it at all. Especially because it was originally launched at $30 with a season pass, with cosmetics that costed money. I feel like this should have been free to play from the get-go, but now the main article is that the game is releasing in free-to-play mode on October 4th. So if you've been waiting on the game because you don't want to spend the money on it and you don't have PlayStation Plus, now you'll be able to play the game for completely free. If you did buy the game or own the game on PlayStation Plus Essentials, you'll be given a Legacy gift pack, which contains 12 Bubble Beastie skins, an exclusive slide board design, and a Legacy title. And since the game is going free to play, the requirement to have an active PlayStation Plus membership to play online is also being removed. So now you won't need to have the PlayStation Essentials bundle to play the game either, which is kind of nice, I suppose. So yeah, that's going free to play on October 4th. Foamstars seemed like it should have been free to play from the get-go, especially with all the monetization that was inside of it. I was talking about it back in when it came out in I think it was like April or something like that. It was a while ago now. I was talking about how there's like $100 skin packs. And it's like, this is crazy for a game that they're charging $30 already for. You're charging this much money for a skimpy outfit for this character. Like, it was crazy. And I feel like if this game actually had some sort of like single player mode to it that actually wasn't just a horde mode, maybe it could have garnered a bit more success in there, just with my kind of crowd who maybe doesn't want to play multiplayer games all the time. But yeah, unfortunately, it just. Yeah, I could see the writing on the wall even when I was playing it. Like, yeah, it doesn't seem to have a lot of longevity to it. And here we are with Foamstars being turned into free to play. We'll see how long it stays online per se, I guess. And that's it for the news today. Let's go ahead and move on to what's coming soon. All right, Astrobot is coming out soon, and the last hidden Astrobot rescue guy from Astro's Playroom is now available to find. It's like it's an Astrobot dressed up as a monkey from Ape Escape. It was a pretty intricate way. I mean, all the bots from the special bots had an intricate way to find them. So I'm guessing that in the game there's going to be your basic ones that are easier to find, and there's also going to be ones that are a little bit more difficult to find in the game itself. So I'm sure there'll be a nice mix with over 300 or about 300 bots in there. It's going to be hopefully a nice mix. What they came out and said, though, is that all the bots that you rescued from the 4 bots that you rescued in Astro's Playroom, they'll be able to join you in Astrobot. So you'll be able to take those bots and bring them over with you to the new game. They'll be with you in your starting crew. So I guess that means that you will be using a lot of these Astrobots to help you. And even in the new trailer that just released on the Sony YouTube channel, they did show off, like, yeah, there's a lot of like ways that this Astrobot is being used. Like you can build them into a ladder and they fall down, or they build into a ladder and they stay up, you know. And then there was also other things like a new monkey that you got on your back that had like a bomb on it, you know, a shooty bombs on it. I mean, the trailer looks awesome. Just go ahead and check that out on the PlayStation YouTube channel. I want this game to be so successful that they keep making these, because this looks really good. Like, Astrobot looks excellent. And I hate to say this because I know I run a contest in my Discord, but if this game doesn't get a 5 out of 5, I would be very surprised. If it does get a 5 out of 5, it is almost a shoo-in to get my Game of the Year. So, I mean, obviously that's a little ways off, but I am so excited for this. This is definitely my most anticipated game this year to play, and it's out in just another 4 days. And if you want to finish up that 100% on Astro's Playroom, you can now find the last bot hidden in it's in the meadow area, I'm pretty sure. So I'm very excited for this. The trailer looks excellent. If you want to check that out, make sure you do. I'm very excited for that, and I hope you are too, because I want this to be Sony's best-selling PlayStation game. I know it's not going to be, because God of War and other things obviously are more versatile with the community, but I'm just so excited for this. I'm just so excited for Astrobot. I do hope that it just sells so well, and it's definitely going to sell better than Concord, I think we can almost certainly say. All right, if you don't recall, there was an MMO that has been on PC for quite some time called Wizard 101. This is actually getting an Xbox and a PS4 release. Over 16 years after it first debuted on the PC, the game, which lets you be a student at Ravenwood School of Magical Arts, lets you unlock your inner magic and face off against evil forces in the MMO experience. So you of course, you join forces with other wizards in the world, compete in hundreds of games, maybe not hundreds of games, but games. Go through a bunch of fully voiced quests and master different spells as you go through the game. Much like the DC Online game, this has been around for quite some time. It's had a lot of ups and downs in its day. I did not play Wizard 101 though back in the day on PC. I never got around to playing it. I was more of a DC Online kind of guy, but. For people who haven't checked out Wizard 101, I believe it's going to be free on the system, which is nice. And I mean, it's one of those games that's it's a bit of a classic. It still retains that old, the old graphic style and stuff like that. So, it's got a very nice retro style to it at this point, I guess you could call it. But yeah, I think it's nice that they're bringing it over to the PS4 and Xbox at least. So there you go. All right, Zelda Echoes of Wisdom got a new trailer that had a bunch of stuff about dungeons and the world that you're going to be going around in. They also confirmed that, yes, Link is going to be kind of playable in the game. Essentially, Zelda can cast like a spell when she's in dire need, and she can actually turn into like a Link-ish character with a shield and a sword. So I'm thinking that's where that ESRB thing came from, where you can play as Link. But essentially, they showed off like the a couple different things from the world. It looks pretty cool. I actually am not going to get this right away. One, I'm not huge into The Legend of Zelda, as you may or may not know. Two, even though I did enjoy Link's Awakening, or I'm sorry, yeah, Link's Awakening? Yes? Yeah, Link's Awakening. I just feel like it's better for me to get this on a sale, especially with how many other games are coming out around the same time that I'm more interested in. So, I mean, let me just extend this olive branch to Callus already, because I know he's going to be getting this game. If he wants to come on and talk about it when it releases, I will be more than happy to have him come on and talk about it, kind of like how he did for Tears of the Kingdom and et cetera, et cetera. I mean, the trailer is pretty detailed. It goes through a lot of things, including dungeons and why the world is like dripping and gooping and turning into a black hole, essentially. So if you want to check that out, make sure you do. Once again, this releases on September 26th, so if you want to check it out, it's coming sooner rather than later. More importantly to me, Croc, The Legend of the Gobos, is getting a remaster. This cult classic platformer will be back. They said it probably will be releasing next year, maybe in the next couple of years. But they already have a trailer for it out already, which looks pretty good. And then they also have a couple screenshots showing the updated graphics and stuff like that. Now, this is the kind of remaster that I like to see, where it retains the original game's cartoony style, but it just kind of smooths it out and updates it a little bit, you know. Because the original game has such a nice, that PS1 aesthetic to it, much like the original Spyro game. And I would say that this game obviously retains more of that PS1 charm than the Spyro Reignited trilogy, but they're both, they both look good in their own rights, obviously. If you don't know what Croc and the Legend of the Gobos is, essentially you play as Croc, who is a platforming character who gets adopted by these Gobos, and an evil guy comes out and steals them all, so you have to go find them. There's bonus rooms, there's boss fights, there's plenty of platforming. The game is a bit difficult on the PS1 with the tank controls, so I do think that is going to be one of the things that they're going to redo about this game. There's also, along with the HD visuals, they're giving a modern control scheme, thank God, okay, there we go. And they are replacing the original's tank controls, like I already said. On top of that, the remaster will include the Crocopedia, a museum mode full of concept art, design documents and animation tests, team member interviews, and more, providing lots of insight into the original game's development. It's due to release, later this year, not next year, later this year. So, very excited to play this because I loved the game. It just was a bitch to control, and the checkpoint system was not great. So essentially what we did is we did a cheat code to get unlimited lives to kind of muscle our way through the game. I still enjoyed it. I gave it like a B tier. So I'm interested in playing this. Hopefully it's going to be like a $10 to $20 port of the remaster of the game, and we'll see how it goes. Co-CEO Gary Scheinwald said this: "I worked closely at Argonaut founder Jez San." I worked closely with Jez, who is the Argonaut founder, on the design and production of Star Glider, at Argonaut's first big hit back in 1986. So to take up the mantle of relaunching Argonaut Games' nearly 4-decade-old game after later brings me full circle. And we have further exciting announcements in the pipeline for the coming months. So maybe that means that they're going to be doing even more remasters of the Croc games or other games from Argonaut. Anyway, very excited about that. Hopefully it's amazing. In a statement from Argonaut Games on Twitter, they said, "When we started to look at the possibility of bringing back Croc Legend of the Gobos and relaunching Argonaut Games, we began by researching whether or not people still remembered or cared enough to justify doing so. We quickly concluded that yes, it was worth it and got to work. What we hadn't completely understood until our announcement earlier this week was the enormous, stupendous, incredible amount of love for Croc, and judging by the comments, quite a few other classic Argonaut games too. There have been numerous questions about cross platforms, controls, features, and so on, and we will reveal all that information in the coming weeks, along with some other fun announcements. Thank you all for your overwhelming support. We can't wait to get the game into your hands. Yazoo. When you originally see like a black box of text with the Argonaut game logo at the bottom, you think that something bad happened. But in this case, it actually was them just saying thank you for the overwhelming amount of support, which is very nice to see. Okay, if you don't know, the new Harry Potter Quidditch game is coming to PlayStation Plus Essentials. I think it's like next or this coming week at this point, on the 3rd of September. Yeah, so on the 3rd of September, you'll be able to download that for no extra cost from the PlayStation Essentials account. They did say that there is going to be some stuff for Legacy owners, people who own Hogwarts Legacy. So if you own Hogwarts Legacy and have a save file, you'll be able to obtain Sebastian, the Moon Trimmer broomstick, and more from the bonus Hogwarts Legacy pack in Quidditch Championships. Players must own both games with a connected account, blah, 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 blah. So that's kind of nice for people who have Hogwarts Legacy, putting some stuff in there as well. And then another pretty funny thing was that they are adding in PS1 Hagrid as a cosmetic into the game as well. So PS1 Hagrid will be available as a cosmetic in Harry Potter Quidditch Championships, available on September 3rd. It essentially just looks like the PS2 version of Hagrid, which obviously became a bit of a meme. So it's kind of fun that they're putting in some lighthearted stuff into the game. Or actually, that was PS1 Hagrid. Yeah, so yeah, PS1 game. So the low polygon Hagrid model will be available, which I guess you have to like get it from the store or whatever, or from winning matches or whatever. But yeah, I think that's a pretty fun addition to the game. And like I said, that's coming out September 3rd. So if you want to check that out, which I will be doing that since it's free, and that's available soon. If you don't know, I am pretty excited for the new Mario Party game, Super Mario Party Jamboree. I know that Super Mario Party, the base game, was not like the best entry ever. I mean, it's one of the best-selling Switch games, but in terms of Mario Party games, I don't think it was like an amazing experience. But Super Mario Jamboree is looking very good. It seems like they are bringing back sidekicks for your character, so they didn't change that. But here is a list of all the returning mini-games that we have seen so far from the trailers that they've shown off. So Stamp Out from Mario Party 4, Granite Gate Getaway from Mario Party 6, Domination from Mario Party 4, 3-Throw from Mario Party 4, Snowball from Mario Party 6, Blame It on the Crane from Mario Party 4, Defuse or Lose from Mario Party 5, and Jump the Gun from Mario Party 6. All seem to be returning from the various trailers that we have seen. Also, Pauline is going to be a playable character in the game for the first time, along with Ninji. So you'll be able to play as either of those characters in Mario Party now. They also, I believe, showed off a lot more of those platforming mini games, which actually look pretty cool. So this is a great thing for Pauline fans out there to be able to play as Pauline and Ninja fans, of course. I think the game is looking very good. It comes out the 17th of October, so we don't have to wait too long. But I think the game is looking pretty good. I think it's going to be very enjoyable in terms of Mario Party games. We'll have to see how it controls, because even though I didn't mind like the gyro controls and stuff for Super Mario Party, I would like to see more of that classic style with this one. Maybe I think they already said that there's going to be two styles. Like you can use the gyro controls, or there's a lot of mini games that don't use gyro controls. We'll have to wait and see. But it's looking pretty good so far. I'm actually kind of excited for it, and we'll see how it goes. The Rugrats platformer that I've been talking about for like 15 years at this point finally has a release date. September 10th is when it's going to come out on pretty much all platforms: PC, PlayStation, Xbox, Switch. It's going to be $25, so I think that's a bit on the expensive side. I was expecting this to be more like 15 or 20, but yeah, hopefully it's got enough in there to justify the price tag. Yeah, you got the old school graphics along with the new school stuff. Yeah, I mean, there's really not much more I can say other than it's a platformer featuring the Rugrats. Obviously, the Rugrats was a big part of my childhood. You know, I grew up with the Rugrats. I even grew up with the Rugrats teens or whatever they were. I think that came out at like the perfect time for me because I was also getting into the teenage years when I was watching that. So yeah, I mean, I think the game looks good for what it's worth, and maybe I'll check it out when it goes on sale. The entire game is playable in co-op as well, so if you want to check that out for co-op gameplay, there you go. Co-op babies. All right, Sniper Elite Resistance, which I talked about from Gamescom last week. It had like a Gamescom reveal during the pre-show. Has a pretty much like a gameplay trailer. I think the game looks really good. I mean, but most Sniper Elite games look good in general. This one looks pretty good. In a press release, they said, offering unparalleled sniping mechanics, stealth and tactical third-person combat, Sniper Elite Resistance turns the attention of the award-winning series towards a hidden war far from the front lines, deep within the heart of occupied France. So, from the gameplay trailer itself, it did look a bit more stealthy at times. But I mean, most Sniper Elite games have some stealth to it, in general. Like, obviously you have like the sound dampeners or the things that make more noise than a sniper shot, and you time your shots with those things, planes passing overhead and stuff like that. So it still has all that stuff, but it does seem to be more in line with a stealth game, like more like a Snake Eat, like maybe a Metal Gear Solid Snake Eater type game, But I think it looks, it looks good. I mean, yeah, it does look pretty similar to other Sniper Elite games, but I wasn't really expecting it to, be a completely different 180 for the series. It's still going to be a third-person sniping game, but it's going to have a different character as in the lead role, French Resistance character, instead of it being Carl Fairburn. So, but it's a 10-minute video, so there's a lot to go skim through in there. So if you want to check that out, Sniper Elite Resistance on the YouTube channel for Sniper Elite or Rebellion Studios, you can watch that. All right, Lollipop Chainsaw is getting a last-gen edition. So they didn't actually... People didn't think that this was going to happen because the pre-orders already came out for the PS5 and Xbox Series X versions and the Switch versions. But they did announce that the Lollipop Chainsaw Repop digital version will be released on PS4 and Xbox at the same time as the other games as well. So you'll be able to play the game on older hardware like the PS4 and Xbox One on the same day as the newer stuff, which is nice for people who haven't upgraded yet. So this is pretty cool news. Hori, the people who make peripherals for consoles and stuff like that, are going to be releasing a PS5, an Xbox, and a PC drum controller for Taiko no Tatsujin Rhythm Festival. Essentially, this is a game where you play, you drum on a drum, and depending on if you do double hit, one hit, rolls left, right, all that stuff, it grades you on your performance. We had a Taiko no whatever game come out pretty recently last year, right? And it did not have the peripheral for it. But now it's officially coming to PS5 and Xbox on November 7th, and there will be a period of Nintendo Switch exclusivity, but it will be coming to the other platforms. The game itself is featuring over 70 songs across a variety of genres, and if you upgrade, you can also get over 700 songs with the Taiko Music Pass. So this little drum controller is pretty cool. It's got all the buttons you need for basic controls of a game, and then of course it has the big drum with 2 sticks. This will be releasing on... I guess I didn't give a release date for it yet, but it is coming for PS5, PC, and it will also work with PS4. So maybe there has to be an Xbox version of this, right? I feel like there's an Xbox version of this. Pre-orders will be available on Amazon soon, so if you want to check that out, it'll be available soon. I can't wait for the first Hori drum controller Dark Souls playthrough. I'm sure that'll come very soon after this is launched or released. A game called Warside is coming out, I think it's later this year. It looks very similar to Advance Wars. Essentially, it's a pixel art style game, RTS style game, where you deploy military troops and you try and take out the opponent's structures and stuff like that, their units and stuff like that. There's going to be 30 missions within a single player campaign with more than 25 different military types to deploy. There is local and online multiplayer available, and players can also battle each other in PvP. So there's co-op and PvP. And so here are the basic things that they say, the key features that they said. Intuitive turn-based gameplay, familiar feels for classic fans. 12 playable commanders, each with passive and battle powers. 25 unique units, including ground forces, aircraft, and naval units. Faction unique units with mechanic specifics to each faction. Single-player campaign with over 30 missions. Forest, desert, and snow biomes with plus toxic wastelands. Challenge friends and foes with multiplayer battles, local and internet players supported, and design your own maps with the built-in mission editor. So essentially, it seems like they've taken Advanced Wars and they said, you know what, let's go back to a retro style, and boom, bada bing, that's what you get. So it's very, very similar to Advanced Wars. I'm not gonna say it's a one-to-one exact replica, but it is very, very similar. The graphic style is a bit more like, it's not like 16-bit. It's more like a more colorful color palette, I guess you could say. But it's still very much like, it's pretty much Advanced Wars at home, I guess you could say. I mean, I don't know how it plays, so I'm not going to say at home, but yeah. So if you want to check out Warside, I don't believe it has a release date yet, but it is coming to the Switch and other platforms eventually in the future. And Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, what is this? The Collector's Edition was shown off. So if you don't know, Kingdom Come Deliverance comes out next year on the 11th of February. They pushed it back a little bit. The Collector's Edition is going to be about $200, and it's going to launch alongside the other version of the game. You get a copy of the game plus the expansion pass with 3 planned expansions. Gallant Huntsman's Kit, which is in-game goodies. A 12-inch statue of Henry and Pebbles, Henry and his horse. A gorgeous cloth map. The King's Rebels collectible cards. Coats of Valor enamel pin set. And the Letter of Hope, which was entrusted to the amorous Sir Hans Capbun. The collector's edition will be exclusive to GameStop in US and Canada, and it will be restricted to Amazon in Europe. So whichever one you decide to get, whichever region you're in, there you go. I think this collector's edition looks nice. It's got some cool stuff in there. I'm not going to be getting it, but maybe you will want it. And finally, here are your PlayStation Plus Essential games for September. I'm sure, as you all know, Harry Potter Quidditch Champions is in there, along with MLB The Show 24 and Little Nightmares 2, just in time for October. Well, I guess not October, but the spooky months. The spooky months. So if you want to check out any of those games, they will be available on the 3rd of September to download and play. I will be playing Hogwarts for sure. I'll be definitely adding MLB The Show to my list and Little Nightmares 2, because I have not played Little Nightmares 2 yet. But I think in general this is a good month. I think that MLB The Show is like a high quality baseball simulation game. I've never heard anything really bad about the show, other than a lot of times, much like Madden, it's like the same thing every year. But at least the show has a better reputation, I would say. And then Little Nightmares 2, I didn't like super enjoy Little Nightmares 1, but I know that Little Nightmares 2 is critically received a bit better than the original game, so I am interested to check that out. And then obviously Quidditch Champions, we don't really know how it is yet, so I will let you all know next week when that comes out and after I have played it. Okay, let's go ahead and do the song of the week. If you know the song's name and the game that it came from, let me know in the comments below, or in the Discord, in the Ferret64 section on the Discord, link in the description if you want to join. Let's listen to today's song right now. Okay, if you know the name of the song and the game that it came from, let me know in the places that I told you to. All right, folks, thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Ferret64 podcast. I really do appreciate that. I know it was another long one, but appreciate you sticking around. If you want to check me out on Twitch, it's all at YemmytheFerret. We stream on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Saturday right now. That will be ending. The contest is ending at the end of this week, as long as we finish the current game. So we will be going back to our Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday schedule after this week. So thank you to everyone who was in the contest. I know it's not over yet, per se, but I do really appreciate all the people who wanted to play that and do the contest. So it's always fun to have a large group of people rather than a small group of people. And I do appreciate it. Also, I have a YouTube channel and a VODs channel, YemmytheFerret VODs. If you want to check me out there, all streams are put up on there. And the YouTube channel has some other stuff as well, like the Film Freaks podcast, where we talk about movies. Me and a group of friends, we talk about whatever movie is picked. The latest episode was about Twister and Twisters, technically. The next episode is going to be about the Terminator, and we got Demonic Lucy to join us for that as well. So we had a fun conversation there. That'll be available next Friday. All right, folks. Thank you so much once again. I am YemmytheFerret, and I will talk at you next week. So long.
The Ferret 64 podcast is owned and edited by YemmytheFerret. Small sound clips used throughout the podcast were made by YemmytheFerret. The song in the intro and outro is Nightshade by Adhesive Wombat. The Ferret 64 logo was made by Player2P2. News sources include PushSquare.com, NintendoLife.com, and PureXbox.com. All opinions, video game related, are my own. Thank you for listening.